Good evening. Nice to see you all again.
Good evening.
Good evening. And it's a pleasure, Bali, to see you. And I love this purple that everyone is wearing. And really looks nice and refreshing. And we have a mission, as you rightly said. We need to spread the good news that we get and make sure that everyone benefits from something like the Memory Cup. It's really a unique program. And I need to make sure.
It's okay. You'll have to come forward. Okay.
Yeah, it's really a unique program, the Memory Cafe that we have started. And thanks to all of you who are really running it and those who attend the Memory Cafe. But we want everyone to benefit because we want everyone to know that memory problems as we grow old could be a sign of a disease. Now, that's not something to be scared of. It means that you need to go and see a doctor. Don't be afraid to go and see a doctor because getting a diagnosis is the first step to care. A lot can be done after you have a diagnosis. We can put things in place, we can improve the quality of life, but don't be afraid to get that kind of diagnosis. So if you do have a loved one who has a problem with memory, do take that person to the doctor and get the diagnosis. Some of the dementias can be treated. Many of them can't be treated. But what we know now is that we can prevent dementia. And that is the good news that we get on World Alzheimer's Day. The theme is never too early, never too late. Last time I told you three things that we need to increase in order to prevent dementia. And I told you about the SIP. We need to improve our social contact. So meeting each other or places like this, or physically meeting each other, or meeting your relatives and friends is a very good exercise for your brain. So to increase your social contact, to inculcate this habit of cognitive stimulation. It starts right from childhood when the education is one way that you actually stimulate your brain, but don't stop with the end of education. Educate yourself. You need to be a lifelong learner. Learn something new, learn a new trick, learn to play an instrument, learn a new song, learn a new language as you're learning with Shanti. Keep learning something because that's what's going to stimulate your brain and that's what protects you. And the third P, S-I-P, P is physical activity. Now, yes, we do a lot of physical activity as children, but in midlife and late life, the physical activity really becomes almost nil. So we need to make a conscious effort to increase physical activity. And you can choose your physical activity, whether you want it to be yoga, running, jogging, walking, brisk walking, swimming, playing badminton, whatever it is that you can do that's okay for your age. And don't start doing an intensive amount of exercise just the very next day after listening to this tip, but keep it low and go slow and keep increasing it. So these are three things that you need to increase. I said SIP. There are certain things that you need to decrease in order to prevent dementia. And that's what I'll be telling you today. And I remember the word in Marathi, it's called, if you want to leave something, it's called soda. Okay, let's spell soda today as S-O-D-A-H. Okay, S-O-D-A-H. S is for smoking. Smoking is absolute no-no to everybody. So if you're smoking, just stop smoking. There is nothing good in smoking at all. Just stop smoking. It'll prevent so many diseases, not only Alzheimer's disease, but so many other diseases. Just stop smoking. S. O is obesity. Obesity also invites a lot of diseases, whether it's heart disease or brain disease or many other conditions. So try to make sure you keep a watch on your weight and try to reduce your weight and do everything, whether it's dieting, etc., exercise to reduce your weight. So obesity is the next word that you need to decrease. D is diabetes. Okay, India is a diabetes capital of the world. The number of diabetes cases because of our change in lifestyle is really increasing. Goa is having the highest prevalence of diabetes. 26.4% of people above the age of 20, as I told you before, are having diabetes. We need to keep a check on diabetes. Having diabetes is not the only problem. Not treating that diabetes is a problem. Not keeping it under control is a problem. So you need to put in all the measures that keeps the diabetes under control, and taking medication is not the only measure. Diet, exercise is also important. The other D is depression. If you have depression, you need to make sure that you try to treat depression. You recognize the signs of depression and treat depression. So that is S-O-D-A. A is alcohol. Okay, alcohol is also known now to be a risk factor for Alzheimer's disease. So if you're excessive alcohol drinking. If you're drinking too much of alcohol, you need to cut down on alcohol. So, because that's now seen to be a risk factor for Alzheimer's disease. And women are more likely to have this problem than men, because again, men tend to tolerate a little higher amount of alcohol than women. But the message to everybody is very clear. If you're not drinking, please don't drink. And if you're drinking, reduce the total amount of alcohol that you're taking. And don't binge drink. Sometimes we're social drinkers, but at times when we go to a party, we drink too much. So that is a problem. You need to avoid that from happening. So because alcohol is a risk factor for Alzheimer's disease. The other A that you need to keep in mind is air pollution. Air pollution also is now seen to be a risk factor, not only for Alzheimer's disease, but also cardiovascular disease. Besides it being a problem for causing lung problems, asthma, and other problems, it also causes heart disease and causes brain disease and Alzheimer's disease. So you need to make sure, if you're living in a place which has a high amount of air pollution, try to avoid that area. The last word is H, SODA-H. H is for hypertension. So if your blood pressure is high, you need to keep your blood pressure under control. Okay, the systolic blood pressure, they say keep it less than 130. That is ideal. So try to keep your blood pressure less than 130, whether it's from exercise or constantly checking your blood pressure. You may not know when your blood pressure is high. You need to check your blood pressure to see whether it's gone up or not. So that is H. H is also for head injury. Try to avoid head injury. Constant head injury. People who are hitting the ball, or boxers were known to have a higher chance of developing Alzheimer's disease and dementia. So constant head injury is something that you need to avoid. And also another H is hearing loss. If you cannot hear, use a hearing aid. So this is seen also to be a very big risk factor for Alzheimer's disease and dementia in the elderly. A lot of people have hearing impairment. But if you don't use a hearing aid, that is what worsens the condition, because hearing is an important stimulus for your brain. And your brain perceives, if you're not getting the stimulus, it says that part of the brain just stops functioning. And the hearing center of the brain and the memory center is very close. So if the hearing center stops, then that part just starts not functioning, as a result of which your memory will worsen. So you need to keep in mind that if you have a hearing problem, do use your hearing aid. So nothing to worry. What you need to keep in mind, it's never too early and never too late. And pass on this message to everyone. We thank GSIDC, who has actually lit up the Atal Setu in purple till today. Today is the last day where it will be lit up in purple. So if anyone passing that way can always click a selfie with the bridge and try to see how we can bridge this gap as far as awareness is concerned. And if you get an opportunity to meet anyone and tell them about dementia and how we can prevent dementia, you'll be doing a lot of good to them. So please do spread this message, and we need to fight stigma. We need to make sure that we all come forward for a diagnosis and do not delay. So that's my sip for the day. Back to the purple angel.
Thanks, doctor. I hope I can be heard.
Yes, okay. You can.
So anyway, I know, as we said, we have a mission, and I think each one of us who has heard doctor's advice to us, maybe it's a precaution, maybe it's awareness about Alzheimer's, can spread this message, because maybe coming from friends, it would be taken better, taken well sometimes, and at least it is our concern for the person. So when we notice a few things which were not normally happening, maybe that's the time we could step in very gently, very politely, and maybe help out those who need our help. Okay, help those who need our help. So thank you so much, doctor. I know we had to make this day special because you are special to us. And we know this day had to be as you wanted it to be. Thank you so much, doctor.